Finance they don't teach you in school. The real history they hide from you. Learning economic history is the strongest weapon you can have. Because once you understand the tricks, they can't fool you anymore. Don't forget to like and subscribe by watching this video. You're about to start seeing the game for what it truly is, and I'll show you where to look. Let's begin. Today, I'm going to tell you a very important story about money, power, and history. But let me warn you from the start. This isn't the kind of story they teach in school. Governments would rather keep it quiet. News outlets gloss over it. Because this story reveals a truth that has repeated itself for centuries. Governments always claim they work for your financial freedom. But when you look at the financial games they've played throughout history, the reality is very different. Behind words like stability, growth, confidence, and prosperity, there's an old tactic. Make ordinary people weaker and poorer, while making the powerful even more powerful. And here's the interesting part. These tricks are ancient. They existed in Rome in the Middle Ages, during the Industrial Revolution. And they still exist today. Only the names change. The trick stays the same. Let's start from the very beginning. 1. The Roman Empire's silent trick. The first inflation. Picture this. The glorious streets of Rome, aqueducts, bathhouses, mosaic floors, soldiers in shining armor, massive catapults used in war. All of this cost money, a lot of money. The emperor realized something. Taxes were rising too much, and people were starting to resist. Increasing taxes any further could cause a revolt, but the army still needed to be paid, equipped, and fed. So what was the solution? Lower the silver inside the coins. Make money cheaper to produce. The denarius, Rome's silver coin, once contained about 95% pure silver. Over time, it dropped to as low as 5%, becoming basically a piece of copper with a thin silver coating. The coins even got lighter. They tried to hide it from the public, but people realized what was happening. As more and more debased coins flooded the market, prices soared, wages collapsed, savings evaporated. Sound familiar? It's the ancient version of what central banks do today. Rome used a mint. Today we use digital printing systems, but the principle never changed. Inflation is a tax, a silent one. When governments can't collect enough taxes, they simply print money and take wealth from you indirectly. 2. Medieval kings and their illusion of forced loans. Fast forward to the Middle Ages. England, France, Spain, kings wanted more wars, more luxury, more spending. So they went to wealthy merchants. You will give a small loan to your country, voluntarily, of course. A polite threat. In reality, you had no choice. If you didn't lend, the king could seize your property, even your life. Kings promised interest sometimes, but often didn't bother paying it back. On paper, it looked like the rich were supporting the kingdom. In reality, kings were just confiscating wealth through fake patriotic appeals. They called it a duty. Today we call it national security, emergency funds, extraordinary measures, different names, same outcome. 3. The birth of modern finance and the start of the big game. By the 17th century, the real game began. Central banking and government bonds. The Bank of England was created not to stabilize the economy, as they claim, but to fund a war against France. Rich families loaned money to the government at high interest rates. And how did the government repay them? Through taxes, salt, beer, clothing. Everything ordinary people bought. Money went to the state and came back with interest. But the interest was paid by the public. This system still exists today. Government bonds are still considered the safest investments. And like always, profits go to the wealthy. Costs go to the public. 4. The 2008 crisis. A global trick in broad daylight. In 2008, banks took insane risks and built massive debt bubbles. The system collapsed. So what happened? Governments panicked, declared the system too big to fail, and printed trillions of dollars. Who was saved? The banks. Who paid the price? Ordinary taxpayers. And the banks? They emerged bigger, richer, and more powerful than before. Same old trick. Profits are privatized. Losses are socialized. 5. The pension system. One of the biggest lies. In many countries, people pay into the pension system for 40 years. You'll get this money when you retire, they're told. But the government doesn't store that money. It spends it immediately. What's left in the fund? A promise. As populations age, the system starts to break. Then comes reform, which usually means raising retirement age, cutting benefits, letting inflation erode pensions. Old trick, new packaging. 6. Quantitative easing. A fancy name for a simple trick. After 2008, central banks invented a new phrase, quantitative easing, QE, which basically means we're printing trillions of dollars, but we prefer to say it in a cooler way. Where did the money go? Stock markets, real estate, bonds. Who owns these assets? The wealthy. What did ordinary people get? Rising prices, higher rents, crushing living costs. The trick is clear. Flood the system with money, inflate assets, enrich the wealthy, and leave the public struggling. 7. Complexity, the smartest trick of all. Today's system is far more sophisticated. It doesn't even need to hide the tricks. It hides them in complexity. Thousands of pages of tax codes, financial terms no one understands. 3,000-page government budgets. Deliberate confusion. The more complex it is, the less the public can understand. If people don't understand, they can't object. 8. Why does all this matter? Because the same system is still running. Inflation is eating your savings art. Debt is rising grow. Market crashes lead to bailouts. Stimulus packages save corporations. Pension systems are under pressure. Taxes rise indirectly. Money loses value. And governments say, we're doing this for you. History says every empire said that. And all of them used the same tricks to crush their people. 9. What should you take from this video? 1. Don't trust headlines. When you hear stimulus, ask, who actually benefits? 2. Don't think inflation is natural. It's a policy, a choice, a tool. 3. Don't tie your entire future to paper money. 4. Don't assume the system exists to protect you. The system protects itself. 5. Learn economic history. And subscribe to this channel to learn more. It's the strongest weapon you have. Because once you see the tricks, you can't be fooled again. History doesn't repeat, but its rhythm never changes. In Rome, people were crushed by inflation. In the Middle Ages, merchants were robbed through forced loans. Today, we live inside the same system. Only the scenery has changed. But the game is the same. And by watching this video, you've just started seeing it. If this story gave you a new perspective, subscribe. History is full of answers. And I'm here to show you where to look.